You do not want to mess with this man. Moving his MMA record to 49 wins, 11 losses with no draws, 2 victories apiece for these badasses and warriors ready for the heavyweight title and grabbing that strap on and getting it on all night long.
Welcome back to the channel. I'm Joe MMA 195, and today we'll be looking at some of the most awkward and cringeworthy moments in MMA. The UFC Canada press conference disaster. Years ago, the UFC would host a press conference in Canada where they would bring George St Pierre and Mark Hominick on to speak to the audience over Skype. However, due to technical difficulties, the conference was extremely awkward and ended up being a complete disaster.
Thanks a lot, Dana, and thanks to the UFC for including me in today's announcement. 2011 was Thanks a lot, Dana, for including me today and the rest of the UFC for this huge event. 2011 was a monumentous. Very excited to be a part of it, and I look forward to this year with UFC in Canada.
Well, that went smooth. So, are we ready for our next guest star? Hopefully this one will go a little better. Ladies and gentlemen, George St Pierre.
Hi.
Gilbert Melendezs' cringeworthy interview.
You want me asking your goal for the article, or you just
I just want
During a media tour for UFC 188, UFC lightweight fighter Gilbert Melendezs would be interviewed by a clueless reporter who knew absolutely nothing about MMA in one of the most awkward and cringeworthy interviews of all time.
You'll be very surprised, and I think it's a very popular sport around the world. There's going to be a lot of people out there.
What sport?
Mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. The UFC.
So MMA fighting is wrestling with the wrestler wearing the masks.
Wrestling wearing the mask is called pro wrestling, lucha libre in Mexico. That's fake, fake wrestling.
So is that like, I'm ignorant.
A female reporter creeps on George St Pierre.
George, I just bought one of your dolls, and the man yelled at me. He said it's not a doll, it's an action figure. So, my apologies. What's the most offensive thing you've ever heard of a woman doing to one of your dolls? Because I've got a few.
After defeating Jake Shields at UFC 129, George St Pierre would attend the post-fight press conference where he encountered a very creepy female reporter who made some inappropriate comments about an action figure of George St Pierre.
Because I've got a few.
Actually, you don't mind to come here and show it to me? I never seen it, if you don't mind.
Oh, it's beautiful. I've done things to it, George. I can't.
That is so funny. I hope you don't play Dara with it. Wow.
Things we could do, George.
Chuck Liddell's drunken interview on live TV.
Because it's different than college wrestling.
Oh yeah, it's a little different. It's a little louder, a little stressing.
You okay, Chuck?
Yeah, I'm okay.
In 2007, Chuck Liddell would appear on Good Morning Texas for an interview. However, as soon as Liddell began speaking, it was clear that he was drunk, as his speech was slurred and he was unable to put together a coherent sentence.
How'd you get started in this?
I was 12.
Yeah?
Watching Kung Fu Theater, and then Devils in between the clips.
Right.
And I really got interested in the clips and started teaching our books about my mom got me in a karate class.
Stephan Bonnar calls out Tito Ortiz.
I can't wait to be in the cage with Tito. I can't wait to eat his elbows and punches, to be covered in blood, so I can laugh at him, spit in his face, and kick his ass.
At Bellator 123, Stephan Bonnar and Tito Ortiz would make an appearance to promote their upcoming fight. The two fighters would end up doing a cringeworthy WWE-like promo that ended in a scuffle that seemed very scripted.
This guy helped him win many world championships. You might recognize him from being in his corner for all those fights. And all he had to give him in return for thanks was nothing. Flushed him down the toilet like a turd.
Joe Rogan botches UFC's Fox debut. In 2011, when UFC would be debuting on Fox, Joe Rogan would host a live TV segment where he would introduce some UFC executives and pro fighters. But things turned awkward when Joe Rogan mixed up the names of the two fighters, George St Pierre and Frankie Edgar.
UFC Hall of Famer Chuck Liddell, UFC lightweight champion Frankie Edgar, and UFC welterweight champion George St Pierre.
Switch seats.
Nate Diaz's profanity-laced call-out. At UFC on Fox 17, after Nate Diaz would defeat Michael Johnson, Joe Rogan would interview him, but Diaz would go on a profanity-laced tirade calling out Conor McGregor while live on Fox.
Beautiful performance against a very tough guy in Michael Johnson. How do you feel about it?
Fuck that. Conor McGregor, you're taking everything I work for, I'm gonna fight your ass. You know what's the real fight, what's the real money fight is me, not these clowns that you already punked at the press conference. Don't no one want to see that, you know you beat them already. That's an easy fight. You want that real right here. Hey, and I'm not...
Unfortunately, we can't talk like that on Fox.
This ended in an awkward moment where Joe Rogan had to cut the interview short due to the fact that profanity is not allowed on network TV. The infamous Jon Jones vs Daniel Cormier face-off. Jones and Cormier had one of the most heated rivalries in the history of MMA, and it all started during a media event where the two would have their first stare-down. When they came face to face, Jones decided to aggressively place his forehead against Cormier's, to which Cormier responded by shoving Jones. A brawl then ensued as Jones shoved UFC executive Dave Schuler to the ground while trying to attack Cormier. The brawl was quickly broken up, but as the fighters were being pulled away by security, Cormier attempted to get one last shot at Jones as he pulled off his own shoe and threw it across the room. However, the shoe ended up missing Jones and hitting one of the media people in the crowd. The Anderson Silva vs Chris Weidman weigh-in face-off. During the weigh-in for Silva's fight with Weidman at UFC 162, the two fighters would come face to face for an intense stare-down. However, Silva would get a bit too close to Weidman, causing their lips to be pressed against each other and making the stare-down extremely awkward.
Two questions. First of all, what is it like to kiss Anderson Silva? Nice lips.
As awkward as this stare-down was, the two were able to laugh it off and even joked about it during the lead-up to their rematch at UFC 168. Julian Lanes' meltdown on The Ultimate Fighter. Season 16 of The Ultimate Fighter is regarded by many people as being one of the worst seasons in the show's history. There wasn't many talented fighters in this season, and most of the fights were extremely boring. However, the one saving grace of this season that made it a bit entertaining was the house drama, as a fighter named Julian Lanes had frequent violent outbursts throughout the season.
Because I'll beat somebody's ass in this house, and I'll get sent home.
Well, that's a bad decision.
Playing, dog, right now.
His most infamous outburst happened after he got drunk and attempted to start a brawl with another fighter. When his friends held him back to prevent him from fighting, he began to throw a tantrum as he uttered a phrase that would go down in infamy.
Let me bang, man. I want to do that, man. Let me bang, I do let you bang. Hey. Let me bang again, man. I let you bang. I let you bang. Let you bang. Let you bang, man.
Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like down below, and subscribe for more content like this.
Brooklyn, put your hands together for none other than Floyd Money Mayweather!